Hey guys. So last week I talked about my son's kind of theory. So if you watched last week, week 11, or if you knew Cody, you knew he always had something he was thinking through. He would get something in his mind, look at it from different sides of each direction, and say, I got a theory. Let's test it out. That's what I talked about last week. And I'm not saying I have everything figured out. I'm not saying I came up with some perfect plan. I'm not saying that I woke up one day after doing last week's episode that I automatically knew how to survive the rest of my life. I was saying that I've been praying, I've been thinking, and I had some things I wanted to try, right? Because I can't just sit around in the wreckage and let everything else die at me too. I was saying I have a theory. Let's test it out. So on May 6th, what is that? Wednesday, I started. I started putting a theory into action, right? I started taking small steps. I made me a list for like the whole week to like kind of manage everything out, take care of myself better, start getting healthier. Um, right? Trying to stay consistent with the things that God put in front of me. Sorry, this weather is messing me up. Um, Trying to manage like working on my things, my projects, my songs, my books, my videos, these videos, and building like honor and everything around God, my son, and what I've been doing. So if you're interested, I just started posting like updates on my community page, on my YouTube channel, on there with kind of like a short list. Well, it's short, it's like 10 things, right? It's not short. But I wanted to be honest and to kind of show you, like, okay, this is like not fake motivation, right? This is not just me pretending and coming up with talk and saying, oh, okay, I'm going to do this and then not test it out. I got to test it out, right? So it's not like I suddenly woke up and say, oh, yeah, I feel strong, right? No, these are just like honest updates, right? Things that I'm trying, things that I'm trying to get structure around, things where I'm trying to test. Okay, did I do too much? How did I feel after doing all of these things? Did it kind of weigh me down, kind of thing? Did it cause how did it go, right? And so I've got a list. I did start a workout on there today. That was intense. I posted the link underneath my list of things that I did for day one, and each day I'll post the link of the workout that I did if you're interested in doing them. It's like the 21-day challenge. It's really intense. I mean, it's like a hit workout on there. So if you want to think about nothing at all except how am I going to get through this workout? That's a good place to start because that workout's intense. So this week, I want to talk about something I realized, right? Is that you cannot test survival while letting other people cross every single line, right? You can't do that, right? You can't ask God to help you stand and then letting people pull the ground from out under you when there's already no ground underneath you to pull in the first place. You can't keep trying to rebuild, keep trying to breathe, keep trying to work on what God gave you, keep trying to honor your child, keep trying to like do all this and then let people step all over the places that you are trying to heal. It doesn't work. So this week, along with um, my goals and stuff that I've got going on, I want to talk about boundaries. Okay. Boundaries. Okay, when I say boundaries, sorry, it's pollen and the weather changing back and forth and cold and hot. It's like, I don't know, it's messing me up. But anyway, so when I talk about boundaries, okay, I'm not talking about boundaries drawn in the sand because boundaries in the sand moves, right? Sand blows away. Sand gets stepped on. Sand disappears when the wind hits it enough. sand does not hold a line for very long, right? And I think for a long time, maybe that's where some of my boundaries were. They were tried lines I tried to draw, but then I moved them because I didn't want conflict. I moved them because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I moved them because I wanted peace, right? I moved them because I thought if I just explain myself a little better, maybe people would understand. I mean, I don't know how much more I can explain myself in all the content and different versions of content I have on my YouTube page. But I kept moving them, right? Trying to make it fair for people for that were not being fair to me at all, right? I moved them because I'm like grieving, right? Like completely uh, all of it, right? And I didn't have the strength to keep battling everything and everyone around me, right? But I'm not drawing those boundaries in sand anymore, right? So these boundaries, I decided they are going to be drawn in wet concrete that is just about to dry. You know, where the ground's still kind of like just about to form, and everybody's like, oh, don't step on that, right? And then you leave an impression. So I'm at that point right now. I got the concrete, I've been watching it. It's just about to get to that drying final. Well, when you mark something in it, it's there forever, right? So that's where I'm at. I'm about to draw some boundaries in the concrete that is just about to dry, that last little stretch, right? And that means that these are not temporary lines, they're not emotional lines. I'm not drawing lines because I'm mad for a moment, right? I'm not drawing lines so people can try to argue them out of me. I'm drawing on the ground that I am standing on, right? And I'm not moving them for anyone, right? Because I have to survive. I have to survive, if not for myself, then for Kody, for Kody's memory. I have to survive for my other daughters. I have to survive for my grandkids and my other grandchild that's about to come into the world, right? I have to survive for my parents, my family. I have to keep doing what God has set before me, right? To keep doing, right? So I have to survive so that He can take all of my brokenness, all of my everything, and keep using it, right? Because for every person, right, there may be someone out there. You're watching this right now, right? Came across it and didn't even realize what they were looking at. And may need to hear something that I say. Not like I say anything like, "Whoo, oh, she's the greatest." But I'm talking from like real life here in it. And so maybe it helps, right? Maybe I write a song or share a piece of my story, my son's story, and help someone realize they're not alone because this is lonely. And I don't know how many times I can say that this is very lonely. So I don't get to just quit because people don't understand me. I don't get to just hand over my purpose because people want to judge how I carry my pain. I don't get to stop saying my son's name because it makes some people feel uncomfortable. Mm-mm. I don't, I do not let gossip, opinions, criticism, silent judgment, or anything pull me away from what God has me walking through. I did not go through all this just to curl up in my bed and just completely die myself, right? God never allows you to have to go through something without something else, right? Never. It's how you choose to deal with what God has handed you, right? Whether you want it or not. I do not want this at all. I do not want it. I do not want this at all. I moved my son up here, his ashes right here, up here, just because this is where I'm always at. So why not, right? Um, so, so what I have to do is for people that just wants to keep crumbling all over everything, and for you too, you have to say, "You know what? Just leave me alone long enough to survive," right? And I don't say that because I want to be mean or I hate people, right? I mean, I don't say that because I don't need to be loved, right? I don't say that because I'm trying to be cold. I mean, leave me alone if all you're doing is bringing judgment. Leave me alone if all you're doing is only watching my videos, my talks, following me, if you only want to criticize everything from way off, right? Leave me alone if you're only using my words that I am speaking here against me, right? Leave me alone if you cannot make room for the name of my son, Kody, and still want access to my life. Leave me alone if you call concern by talking behind my back and never talking to me. Leave me alone if you think my grief is something you get to monitor, correct, control, right? Because I'm not available for that. Not now, not anymore. That is one of the lines I am drawing in concrete, the wet concrete. I will not keep defending my grief to people who already decided I'm grieving wrong. I will not keep explaining why I keep talking about Kody. I will not keep explaining why I work on things that I work on. I will not keep explaining why I create songs, videos, books, projects, pains around every part of my life. I will not keep explaining why I'm different. Of course, I am different. My son went to heaven. He didn't go off to college. He didn't move out down the road. He didn't get mad and storm off one day and say, "Mom, I'm not talking to you again." My son went to heaven. My life was split completely open. My whole world has changed. There is no version of me that comes out of this unchanged, no matter how much time has passed, right? And I'm not apologizing for that. And that's another line in the concrete in this. I will not stop saying Kody's name. Kody's my son, right? He's not just a subject that people can skip over because it makes them feel uncomfortable. He's not a chapter that I close so the room feels easier for others. He's not something that I leave out of my life so people don't feel awkward. He's not where I start talking about him and then all of a sudden the people around me change the subject and just kind of bypass me even beginning to talk at all. He's my child, right? I carried him in this life. I loved him from the beginning. I love him now. I'll love him for the rest of my entire existence. And just because he's in heaven, it doesn't mean that I am not his mother. That's never stopped. So I'll not shrink his name. I will not act like he's not part of everything in me. I will not pretend that the loss didn't touch every single piece of me. I will not make my grief feel smaller so somebody else can feel bigger. That line is drying. It's drying. Another line is not, I will not let people make my healing unsafe and then accuse me of closing off. Because that happens. People don't want to hear about the pain. They don't want to sit with the grief. They don't want to make room for what matters the most in my heart. They want to change the subject. They get uncomfortable. They act like It's just, I'm too much. But then they say you pull away. They say you're distant. They say you close yourself off. But how do you keep open up to people in a place where you don't feel safe to talk about your pain? How do you keep handing your heart to someone and go, right? And then just dropping it, right? It's already shattered and there's none many more pieces that can shatter into, right? How do you keep sitting at the table where your child's name feels like an inconvenience? I'm not closing myself off from love. I am protecting myself from the places that make my pain feel unsafe. There's a difference. And I don't want to have to keep explaining that difference anymore. That's another line in the concrete. Another line is this: I will not confuse gossip with concern. Real concern does not whisper behind someone's back. Real concern does not warn people about you too dangerous. You should watch out because you're grieving. They're grieving, right? Right? Real concern does not watch every word you say just to twist it later. Real concern does not sit back and judge while never once trying to help carry anything at all. Real concern does not treat a grieving mother like she's on trial on the way she knows how to survive. Right? Real concern says, how can I help? Real concern may say, I don't understand any of this. I don't get any of it. But you know what? I love you. Right? Real concern makes room. Real concern protects. Real concern does not add more pain to a heart that is already broken beyond words. So I'm just simply done letting people label judgment as concern, right? Your concern, show it. Stop judging. That concrete is drying too. Another line that is drying in the concrete is, I will not let anyone make me feel guilty for trying to survive. I am working on myself. I am trying to get better. I am trying to get healthier. I'm trying to move my body. I am continuing creating. I'm trying to keep building, trying to keep showing up. I'm trying to keep following what God has put in me, even when everything in me is shattered. I'm not going to let people make things look different than what they actually are, because this is not me being dramatic or another talking point for some gossip later. This is me refusing to be concerned with what you think of me, right? This is me fighting to live. This is me fighting to keep my mind from being swallowed by grief. This is me taking pain that could destroy me and asking God to use it. This is me honoring my son. This is me loving my other kids. This is me wanting to be here for my grandkids. This is me trying to stay and keep my family. And the enemy does not get to take that from me. Not anymore. There's another line in the concrete. The enemy has tried to steal enough. He tried to steal my peace. He's tried to steal my mind. I still struggle, but he has tried to steal my purpose. He's tried to steal my voice. He's tried to use grief and conflict and judgment and pain to make me sit and stay silent. But I need to say this clearly. The enemy did not take my son from me. God has my son. Kody is not in the enemy's hands. Kody is in God's hands, and that is where I stand. I stand on God's word. I stand on what I know, even when I don't understand anything at all. I stand on the truth that God is still God. I stand on the truth that God sees what I cannot see. I stand on the truth that this life is not all that there is. I stand on the truth that my son is not lost, that God has him. I stand on the truth that heaven is real. I stand on the truth that God is close to the brokenhearted. I stand on the truth that even when I am crushed, I am not abandoned. I stand on that day before I lost my son when God asked me, "Do you trust me?" And I gave Kody to God to heal. And I stand on that promise that God told me he was going to heal my son, even though this is not what I wanted. I stand on it that he still kept his promise. And I stand on whether people understand me or not, because people's opinions are not my foundation. God's word is. And that's where the boundaries come from. They're not from bitterness. They're not from hatred. They're not from revenge. They're coming from survival. They're coming from obedience. They're coming from a place in me that knows I cannot keep letting people pull me away from what God is trying to keep alive. That is why I said these lines are not in sand anymore. Sand is too easy to erase. Concrete's different. Concrete holds. Concrete sets. Concrete says, this line, this is here. And once concrete dries, you don't get to keep dragging it around. And that's me finally understanding that not everybody deserves a front row seat to what God is doing in me. Some people can watch from a distance. Some people can have limited access. Some people can lose access altogether because peace matters, right? Obedience to God matters. Survival matters now. My children matter. My grandkids matter. Kody's memory matters. My calling matters. And what God is doing through this pain matters. And I can't keep letting the enemy use people's opinions to interrupt what God is trying to do. That's the part that I don't think people always understand, right? So when you're grieving, you're already fighting a war inside of yourself, right? You're already caught up in a fight. You're fighting to breathe. You're fighting to get up. You're fighting to believe. You're fighting, like, not let this pain swallow you whole, right? You're already in a fight every single second of the day. You're already screaming to God with questions that you may never get the answer to, right? And you are fighting in a world that feels completely wrong, right? You are already in a fight. So when people add more noise, more conflict, more judgment, more suspicion, more gossip, more pressure, it's annoying, right? It's very annoying. And it's dangerous to your survival mode, right? And I'm not willing to let that keep happening. Not now. Not after losing everything. Not after this has already cost me so much, right? And it's cost you nothing. Not when God is calling me to stand. Not when there are songs I still need to write. Not when there are words I still need to speak. Not when there's still part of my testimony that still hasn't came out yet. Not when my son's memory still deserves honor. Not when my other kids and my grandkids still need me here. Not when God has not let go of me. So some people don't understand my boundaries. Doesn't mean I have to remove them, right? Doesn't mean I have to keep drawing them in the sand. If someone does not like my boundaries, right? If someone's offended by my boundaries, it doesn't mean they're wrong. Sometimes people are offended by boundaries just because they benefit from you not having any, right? Sometimes people call boundaries bitterness because they were more comfortable while you were breaking and just being quiet. Some people call you distant because you finally stopped walking around in the places where your spirits just kept getting wounded. Some people say that you've changed, like trauma was supposed to leave you the same. Of course, I changed. I lost my son. I have learned how to try to keep breathing in a world where all I want to do is walk through that door or have my son walk through that door and get one more hug, one more call, one more, hey, mom, I love you. I'll even take one more time of him, mom, you're getting on my nerves. Stop calling me so much. Just let me, I'm good. I'm good. Like, seriously, I'll even take that. I'll take him being mad at me, right? I would take any of that, any of it. But I've had to learn how to wake up with a pain that does not know how to clock out. I've learned how to keep going in a world that keeps missing him. I have to learn how to keep holding on to God with everything in me. And that's where I am. I'm not asking for permission. I'm not asking everybody to understand. I'm not asking anybody to even agree with me. So, yeah, leave me alone long enough to survive. Leave me alone long enough to hear God. Leave me alone long enough to build what He asked me to build. Leave me alone long enough to grieve my son the way that I need to grieve him. Leave me alone so I can say my son's name, Kody, without it being a debate. Leave me alone so God can heal me. Leave me alone long enough for me to live because I have things to do. I have to survive this. I have to keep going. I have to keep standing. Not because I have some strength in myself. I don't. If I did, that would be, I would collapse from the first moment I walked over to my son's house and I opened the door. That would have been it. I would have been done. I would have been completely done. The first moment I walked in there and saw my son, I would have been completely done. Right? I would have collapsed a long time ago and never got back up. But God keeps holding me, right? God keeps waking me up. God keeps giving me one more step. I take a step, He takes a step. I take a step, He takes a step. God keeps giving me something to do with this pain so I don't keep it bottled up, right? Because that can eat at you if you bottle it up. So I do this. God keeps reminding me that Kody is not lost. God keeps reminding me that He knows the beginning and the end. God keeps reminding me that I don't have to understand everything to trust Him. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So I'm letting God, I'm having faith in God that He knows, that He knew. Right? I may say that I'm broken beyond repair in a world that never understands repair. This world can't repair me. Nothing. Not one single thing in this world can repair me. The only thing that can repair me is God. So I'm not broken beyond God's hands, and neither is this pain. God can still know how to hold a person. God can still speak into someone when everybody else around them is making noise. God can still lead you where you don't know where to step. God can still get into your heart. He keeps reaching for Him. And that's what I'm doing. I am reaching for God. And the concrete is drying. So maybe this week it's for somebody else too. Maybe if you're grieving and people just keep acting like your boundaries are the problem, maybe surviving is something that's changed you and people just trying to drag you back into before you who you were before it happened. Maybe you're tired of explaining why you can't give access to people that just keep hurting you. Maybe you've been drawing lines in the sand and people just keep stepping over them, kicking them in the dust and stuff and just gone in the wind, and then there you are back at ground zero. Maybe it's time to pour some concrete. Not out of hate, not out of pride, not out of revenge, out of survival, out of obedience, out of wisdom, out of knowing that God did not keep us here for all of us in this club we never wanted to join, right? So that everybody else can just keep kicking us around. He left us here. Why he has our child for a reason. I don't understand the reason, but I'm going to keep searching until I figure it out, right? So this is where I stand. I will forgive you, but I will not keep handing you the weapon. I love you, but I'm not going to let you destroy my peace. It's not bitterness, it's boundaries. Some boundaries are necessary. So this is where I am this week. Started a theory, started testing it out, started taking steps. I started posting updates. And now I'm realizing that part of survival is not what I started doing. It's also what I stop allowing. I'll stop allowing people to make my grief feel unsafe. I'll stop allowing judgment to interrupt my obedience. I will stop allowing gossip to steal my peace. I will stop allowing people's discomfort to silence my name, my son's name. We got work to do, guys. We all got work to do, right? God didn't just put us here to just walk around in limbo, right? So the lines they're not in the sand. They're in concrete. Like I said, that concrete is drying, right? So if this talk right here, as if it has helped you, you know someone who's grieving, someone who's trying to rebuild, someone who needs to know how to draw some boundaries and still love God. Subscribe, walk the road with me. It's a little kind of all over the place, but you know what? So is losing your child, right? Share the videos because I know I'm not the only one who's brokenhearted, trying to stand on God, trying to survive while everything else has changed. Share, like, subscribe. It helps get the word out, right? Because I mean, I see so much, right? I know I'm not alone. So draw your line in the concrete, right? For Kody. Same bad time, same bad channel. I love you, bubs. To the moon, to the trees, and the stars. And now all the way to heaven. Thanks, guys. See you next week.